May the words of my mouth and the meditation of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, our rock and our Redeemer. Please be seated. Today, we celebrate the feast of our patronal saint, the Apostle James. He and his brother John were called to follow Jesus very early on, just after Peter. James and John are almost always mentioned together. Some suggest that perhaps they were twins. With Peter, they were present with Jesus at some of the most critical times in his earthly ministry. By all accounts, they were quite the pair, so much so that the nickname that Jesus gave them was immortalized in the gospel record forever. Sons of Thunder, he called them. A name that I have more than once heard likened to, in our contemporary time, Hell's Angels. We don't know why he called them this. Probably because of their zeal for Jesus' ministry. But maybe they used their early status as early disciples to boss the other followers around. Maybe they were really loud and never shut up. Regardless, we can be sure that they were not shrinking violets. It would seem, too, that they came by their boldness honestly. Their mother courageously presented herself to Jesus to secure for her sons the two highest posts in his administration. This, despite the fact that she was a fisherman's wife, not a person of noble heritage or civic influence. She knew that they had been with Jesus for quite some time and that they were very close to him. She also must have known that Jesus' journey to Jerusalem was no routine pilgrimage, but rather something very special. So if she was ever going to approach him, it would need to be now. No doubt she and her boys, young men, probably in their 20s, had spoken about the future and about what they understood about Jesus' messiahship. And they don't seem to have been surprised by her request of Jesus. When he asks if they're prepared to do the same things that he must do, they immediately respond, "You betcha." What none of them grasped, of course, was that the reign that Jesus was inaugurating was something very different than what they expected. Even though he had just, in the verses just before this, explained to them just how much it would cost him, and very soon, they were still focused on an earthly realm. They wanted to be there at the side of Jesus' throne. What follows is Jesus' counterpoint to their request. But before he gets to that, he acknowledges what would have been a really painful prediction had they understood it. They will drink from the same cup. James, our patron saint, was the first of the 12 to be martyred. In describing for them the ideal life of a disciple, Jesus turns the typical expectations of their culture upside down, as he so often does. Do you want to be first? Then you must be willing to be last. In God's economy, nothing is more valuable than acts of service rooted in love, compassion, and mercy. If there's a common thread running through the commentaries that I perused while studying today's gospel, it is that service to others is incredibly rare. And when it's found, it's always among God-fearing Christians. I want to emphasize the word fear, because many of the articles I read came out of fear-based theologies. As if the best way to get people to serve others is to make them afraid that if they don't, they'll burn in hell. And that's just not the point of Jesus' teaching about servant leadership. I find proof of a more aspirational view of servanthood right here at St. James. When I look around at the myriad ways parishioners serve not only one another, but also people in the community, people in the inner Richmond that they don't even know. I've done more, and I've done more of that looking around in the last 3 months than ever before. I don't see folks acting compassionately in order to save themselves from the agony of eternal gnashing of teeth. Instead, I see people living out their baptismal covenant in ways both great and small, because the love of Jesus and Jesus's love for them inspires their service. Acknowledging that there are always ways that we can do more, I want to elevate and celebrate the acts of service that I see every week in the St. James community. There's the village, and it's not a small one, that makes our liturgy possible. Twice every Sunday morning, come rain or come shine. Our altar guild, our lay Eucharistic ministers, our ushers, our readers, the prayer bearers, Sunday school teachers and youth leaders during the school year, our faithful flower guild and coffee hour hosts, the Techalites who make our Zoom ministry possible, and lay preachers and volunteer clerics. And then there's our vestry, working mostly behind the scenes, but doing an unreasonable amount of heavy lifting to keep this place running. They're the intercessory champions of our prayer team, our faith and action team who bring our mission outside our campus, those who lead or host Lectio Divina, evening prayer, silent meditation, volunteers who keep our lovely garden tended and show up for work days to clean the brass and dust the place, our deanery reps, diocesan convention delegates, and those who serve in higher councils of the church. Not to mention those who again and again, without being asked and without acknowledging it, step up to lend a hand to another parishioner in need. And I've undoubtedly failed to mention many others who volunteer their time and their talents at this wonderful church. It's inspiring and humbling to both witness and receive the love and care demonstrated by every one of you. So along with celebrating our patron saint, James the Apostle, I also celebrate all the saints in our midst who make this community the loving and welcoming home that it is. Amen.